Now we'll create a second report as a programming practice. This time is for the vendor details. The vendor which we create generally with the transaction code, that is XK01, and we can display it using XK03. So this is the vendor display screen. This is the name, we can have title, we can have the street address detail, and here we maintain the mobile numbers. There can be multiple mobile number for one vendor. Similarly, there can be multiple email ID for one vendor. So by default, the first one is default, or we can make a one email ID as default. Okay, so this all data is stored in a table. So in this scenario, we'll have a screen, and on the screen we'll be having as, let's say, the vendor ID is the selection screen and also the company code. The vendor table base are LFA1 and the LFB1. This will be our selection screen, and in the output I will show as just 13 columns. The first is serial number, then we'll have the vendor ID, that is from LFA1. Here I give the table name also from which we want to display the value. Then we will display vendor name. The company code will be from LFB1, and we have the address in the ADRC table. So the address ADRC, ADR6, ADR2, those are called as the address table, and those tables are common for vendor as well as customer as well as for the plant. Company code, those are called the centralized address tables starting with ADR 6C32 etc. Then we'll display the city and give the table name and also field name which we want to display. Then here I want to display the country code. If you see here on this screen, like here we have, this is called the country ID and this is the description. Mostly all the master data in SAP, the key fields are the ID, and we can have any descriptions. For the country and state, we'll display the description instead of ID here. Okay, then I want to show the country table is T005T and state is T005U, and email address are stored in the ADR6 table, and this is the field name for email ID. Here instead of one email ID, I will display two email ID. One is the main and second we can say the alternate email ID, and the mobile number from the ADR2 table. And our logic will be like this. Like first from the LFA1 table, we have to select, from the LFA1 table we will select the listener, name 1 and ADR NR. This is called the address number with the inner join with the LFB table. This is the company code table. We will select the BUKRS from the LFB1 table. Okay, this will be selected with the inner join, and based on this data, based on the ADR number from the first select query, we will select the address detail from ADRC, ADR6 and ADR2 table. Okay, and our steps will be like first creation of the program with SE38 or SE80, data declaration, designing of selection screen, select data from database table, build data in a single internal table, and then display the output. So before writing the program, just at the table level, just understand how we have to do the field mapping and the select query. So I have this vendor ID and I want to print this data, that is the name, the address, mobile number and email ID. So first table will be, go to SE12 or SE16. For the vendor master, the first table is LFA1. If you press here F1, okay, this is a structure, but sometimes we directly get the table name here. Let's try some other field. This is the name 1. This is also other table. Okay, most of the time we directly get a table name. Okay, so LFA1 is the base table. So in the LFA1 we can see the listener that is called as a vendor account number. Here in this field we have to pass this vendor ID. Even though the address we can see in the LFA1 table also, like this is the address, this is the region ID. We can also get the first mobile number, but email ID we don't get here. But as a good practice, always select the address details from the address table, that is the ADRC. Okay, so from LFA1 table we have to select the listener, there is a name 1, and the important from the address point of view is this field that is called as the ADRNR. Okay, in this field we have to go to the ADRC table that is called as the address table, and in the address table first field we can see as the address number. As I mentioned, this is common for all the customer, vendor, plant, all. For all this concept is follows. If we execute, so we can see the same details. This is the address and primary key. Now whenever we are selecting data from any table, always select the primary key. Even though if we don't require those two fields, but as it is a primary key, to always select all the primary key and the required field. From the ADRC table, we'll show the address from this field as street, and we'll show the postal code, city, and from here we'll get the country ID and the region ID. Similarly, from the other table like ADR2, from this table we'll display the mobile number. Here also we have to pass the address number. Now as I mentioned, I maintain two mobile numbers there, so we can see two records here. The first one will be the default, and one customer can have multiple IDs. One customer can maintain the 5, 6, any number of records. So based on requirement in this report, I want to show the two numbers, mobile 1 and mobile 2. That's why I will use the loop here. Okay, this is the address number, and I want to show this field from this ADR2 table. This is just a requirement understanding. Once we understand the requirement properly, then it is easy to write code. Then from the ADR6 table, again same, we have to pass the address number. Then from this table we will get the email ID, and I want to display two email ID, but not in a horizontal way. I want to display the email ID 1 and email ID 2 like this way. Okay, ADR6. And then from the country table, as I mentioned, this T005T, this is the country details. So here from the vendor address table will pass the country ID, let's say if it is IN, and also pass the language here. If you're not passing the language, we can see in a different language, E for English, because this is the address table, the master data language table that maintain the different language is Danish, F, we can see Finnish, that is maintained different language. So we want to select the data on EN, that is English language only. So this is the country table. From here we will select this land X50, this field. If you want to see all the values, just remove this IN. So we can see different country ID, and based on the country ID we want to fetch this value. Okay, this is about the address of this is about the country description. Similarly for the state, we have T005U table. Here we want to fetch the state description, then along with the state ID we have to pass the country ID. Here my country is EN. Let's say let's see all the state of country India. So here we can see the different list of states. Okay, so while selecting the state description along with the country, along with the state ID, we also have to pass the country key. Okay, if you want to see the states of the country Australia, Then we'll pass here AU, and you can see all the lists of state which are mentioned here. So this is about all the requirement what we are going to develop, and also shown from which table we have to show the details. Okay, and also shown the logics. So after this, now let's start creating the report. So go to SE38 for that.